So KSI versus FaZe Temper just took place, and well, there's not much to say really. I was right. I predicted the fight pretty much dead on. I predicted that it would be a first round knockout for KSI, and I did say that this is going to be either just a flatline KO or it's going to be a really brutal TKO. It ended up being a brutal TKO from KSI, and I'm quite impressed with the performance to some degrees. I do also think KSI has a long way to go before he's close to competing with a guy like Jake Paul, and it really worries me that he's saying he's only going to really take one more fight before that. But first, let's just break down the fight, what happened, how KSI got the KO, what kind of skills he showed, and how FaZe Temple looked, all those kind of things. So the fight opened, and pretty much what I said, KSI was the one pressuring, FaZe Temple was the one going backwards, and like I said, FaZe Temper is not great at going backwards, and when pressure is put on him, he does not fight as well. And if someone can pressure him through his counters and back him up, his hooks and his other boxing ability, his footwork is not going to help him too much. And that's what happened really for FaZe Temper. That was his downfall. KSI pressured him. Again, I echoed it. The fight echoed what I'd said, which was that basically I didn't think FaZe Temper would have the kind of sting on his punches needed to deter KSI from attacking him. And that's pretty much what the case was. FaZe Temper did land actually some good, solid counters on KSI, especially early. The fight didn't go long. I believe it only went. It was under 2 minutes. I don't really remember the exact time, but it was early in the first round. And basically, yeah, FaZe Temper's counters didn't have enough sting to deter KSI, and he did land some really good counters, which is worrying. Like I said, worrying for a potential matchup with Jake Paul, because the counters that he landed were pretty slick, and JJ just took them, no defense. I wanted to see more defense from KSI, if I'm honest. I wanted to see him actually working his way in and being cautious and being defensively aware, which he really was not in this fight. He treated it the same as he treated the Pineda and Swarms fight, which I personally kind of, I wrote that off as him just not respecting the opponent's ability and not being worried about being knocked out. But he's pretty much done the same thing about Temper. And again, I think he wasn't worried about getting knocked out, but still, that's a dangerous approach to have to a fight. And if he wants to move on to guys like Jake Paul, that's going to get him in a lot of trouble. So he was working his way inside, good footwork, good cutting angles to get on the inside. He worked the body, which I did think he would do, and he worked the body quite effectively in the fight. But listen, he was getting caught with counters in the clinch. FaZe Temper did land a few shots off the clinch. But KSI, he worked his way in okay, very defensively laxed. And the KO was actually a bit surprising to me. He adopted kind of a karate stance. He did it a couple times in the fight. He did it earlier in the fight. The fight didn't go long, but he did it a bit earlier before the KO. He kind of took this bouncy karate stance with his hands quite low. Just a classic kind of karate stance, type of stance, adapted a bit for boxing. And so he took that stance once or twice before he did it for the final sequence. But he did it in the final sequence, and he kind of blitzed into range with a 2-punch combo, ending with the left hook, I believe, and the left hook is really what did the damage to FaZe Temper. But it was odd to see. I didn't expect that kind of stance from him. Quite similar to Michael Venom Page, the Bellator fighter, former Bellator champion, who KSI actually does train with. And if you look up on Michael Venom Page's Instagram, he did actually post a comparison of the knockout KSI had against Temper and a knockout that he himself had in Bellator. So that was quite interesting, the way he adopted that stance and blitzed forward in a karate manner. Karate has a lot of blitzes with the hands. Often karate fighters, they blitz forward with their hands to get the knockout or to land their shots. So that was quite interesting to see, and I think FaZe Temperrr probably didn't expect that, because before that, KSI was very flat-footed and working his way into range, walking forward, and then cutting an angle to get on the inside and go to the body. But he switched it up, and he did it a couple times, but didn't have a lot of success early. But in that final sequence, he just switched it up, blitzed forward with a two-punch combo, finished with the left hook, and got temperrr out of there, man. And it was quite a brutal TKO. Temperrr attempted to get up, but really, he did get up probably at 9. The ref had stopped counting. It was probably at 9. But yeah, it was a good stoppage. He was not fit to continue that fight. And these guys in YouTube boxing, they really don't need to be given those extra chances, because they are ultimately, for the most part, amateurs, you know, and they don't need to be taking that extra damage of letting the fight continue. So I was quite glad that the ref stopped it, and it was a very good stoppage. Yeah, I worry for a matchup with Jake, because I really, at this stage, I would be picking Jake pretty firmly. I'm going to make a video, I think, about just breaking down the potential matchup between Jake and KSI. But yeah, I just wanted to give a quick reaction to the KSI and temperrr fight, and what happened. And it was a good fight, you know. It didn't last very long. I think KSI showed good speed and footwork, but lacking in a lot of areas, man. In a lot of areas, and it's worrying going forward. But yeah, I just wanted to make a quick breakdown. And yeah, that's about it. See you.